to EEI Late Night with KJ on EEI.
It's party time. WEEI Late Night. KJ, thank you so much for stopping through. Boy, the world's been pretty interesting here over the last several months, right? It's supposed to change tomorrow. But of course, when you change administrations, customary to offer up the pardons. And some in the pantheon of Boston sports have literally gone to fandom jail. So tonight, we pardon one of the three. One, it's almost kind of like, man, you have blood on your hands and you have a track record after. We'll get into him in a second. Do we pardon Ray Allen? Of course, his eternal sin was going down to Miami with LeBron to go be his lap dog and hit shots from the corner like you learned that from somewhere else. Psst. Or Johnny Damon. Oh, my gosh, everything you helped us with that 3-0, being down 3-0 to the Yankees, to just go to the Yankees? What? Then, of course, there's Rick Pitino. Literally the modern-day version of I Spit on Your Grave. Oh, my gosh. Craziest thing I saw with Rick Pitino was Dana Barros was on the team at the time. And Rick Pitino goes to Dana's camp, talks to the kids, tells the kids, Dana is the future. Dana Barros is the future of the Celtics. 2 weeks later, he traded Dana Barros. Now, you want to hear a funnier story with that. Dana would end up getting traded to the Detroit Pistons. I haven't caught up with Dana in a couple of years. They have a exhibition game in Kansas City at a arena where they don't have parking lots. You have to park behind people's cars. So I'll get back to who's going to get pardoned, but this is along the Rick Pitino line of where I don't think he's getting the pardon. I'm just going to let you know right now. So I happened to see Dana at halftime. I'd only gone to the game to say, hey, Dana, I'm in town. You guys are in town doing an exhibition, the whole nine. I leave at halftime. Like Rick Carlisle says, yes, you can go talk. If this was like kind of like, wow, this is like Hollywood rock star. Like I could get an NBA player to just step over here and talk to me real quick. And I thought about Dana. I was just like, wow. He had just been praised like year before by Rick Pitino. He's part of the future at his camp. He got one. Now he's gone. So can we just go ahead and put Rick Pitino's name over here on the stay of execution list? Right? Like, yeah, we're just going to keep you over there. Because I was in college at the same time with Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan and I go back to our college days. And when it was word that that the Celtics were doing everything to get him, it was just like, oh boy. Is this going to be the Knicks Pitino, or is this going to be like the over hyper sensitive Providence Pitino? We knew what it was. Tim went on to the Hall of Fame. I think, what is Pitino doing right now? Checking in with his PO? No kidding.
Listening to us right now.
Yeah, right, exactly. I can't stand them back up there. Who's this guy? Who's this KJ guy? Doesn't even have his alphabet correct. It's JK, not KJ. Of course, you know what, Pitino would go into Louisville and do a lot more damage than the fried chicken in Louisville, if you know what I mean. Talk about hot and spicy. Rick was running a little
got Donovan Mitchell to go there.
Well, but that's okay. That's one player. But I'm talking about when you're enticing people with legs and thighs from KFC, but they don't serve chicken. You're pretty much in the stay of execution pile, right? And that happened after Boston. Like Rick Pitino's story after Boston. Like if you thought it was bad when he was here and what he did with those teams, and it's just like, okay, we get it. You've known Anton Walker since he was 3. What is he doing? What is he doing? It got worse for Pitino. So I would say there's no reason to pardon Pitino from the New England prison system of fandom. So now we're down to Ray Allen and Johnny Damon. And this is tougher than you think. You got to give Ray Allen the pardon.
I think so, too.
Here's why it isn't Johnny Damon, but why you have to consider why Johnny Damon's name now suddenly appears on the late night governor's desk, right? Is Johnny Damon started in Kansas City. So the small tie of things. I lived in Kansas City when the outfield was Damon in left, Carlos Beltran in center, and Jermaine Dye in right. So these, when they're all young kids, they were all designed to go somewhere else. They were going to be too good to stay. So he came here. Of course, we all know the story from there with Johnny. And so going to the Yankees.
Money.
Yeah. And of course, you have to shave your face. You know, like, isn't George Steinbrenner dead? Can you stop that? Like, no one saw that Seinfeld episode, you know? You can go with the beard if you want. You know, they're going to tell you not to play. He looked weird. You know, it was like, usually you're like, you know, the progressive commercials, like, we all see it. We all see it.
He has blue hair.
He has blue hair. With Johnny Damon, we went to the Yankees, we're like, he has a haircut. Doesn't even look right.
Clean shave, too.
Yeah, he looks like the guy from Get Out, if you've seen the movie. It's just like, hello, Johnny? Is your soul still in there? I must hit ball for Steinbrenner family. So, for the money, Johnny doesn't get the pardon. It's Ray Allen. And here's why. Ray Allen was on his third team, right? Milwaukee, Seattle, then here. And without Ray Allen, you start to think, would the defense collapse more on Paul Pierce? Yeah, Paul Pierce was the workhorse. We know that. Like, we call him the truth because there were a lot of lies around him in those early days. Back in the 850 WEEI days, you know, like, whoa. Paul had to do a lot by himself and worry about Anton's people, like, behind him in the stands. What are those guys doing over there in the corner? So Paul Pierce needed that help from the perimeter. Ray Allen's the best shooter in the league. That's Jesus Shuttleworth, for God's sake. So I get it, because the thought of LeBron at that time and teaming up with him was like, that's the worst person you could go team up with. Now when we look at the league, you're like, you know what? Despite what you may think of LeBron, you have to respect what he's produced, right? That it probably helped that he didn't always win in Miami, so that way it wouldn't seem like a spoiled child. But my goodness, if you look at the Brooklyn Nets right now, that's like, those are like kids that when you tell them to go to timeout, you don't own time. You don't own me. Like, why even have a coach? So at least LeBron has been coachable. And when Ray Allen went to go play with LeBron, we now see that it wasn't anything new, right? Like, he went there to help them with their big three, like their big 3.5. Like, come on, you already got three there. Like, you need to go and be the fourth.
That's the reason it stung, I think, is because you kind of knew Miami was already headed to the finals.
Right, but you also knew that, like, Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce were about to get unloaded from, like, next to nothing. Raise your hands if you have a Paul Pierce Wizards jersey. Exactly. Kevin Garnett Nets jersey? No. Right. So Ray Allen at least was recognized for the legacy of help building the original big three. This is the original big three, is Ray Allen, Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett. That's before LeBron and D. Wade and Chris Bosh. Sometimes it's hard to remember Chris Bosh's name. It's almost kind of like, name the members of the Beatles. You're like, Paul, John, George, and the guy who played the drums. It's like, it's Ringo. He went to go be Ringo. And that's okay because it's still part of the Beatles, you know?
Honestly, it helped Bosch's career out. He became way more relevant than in Toronto.
Oh, yeah, well, that's easy to do when you know that you can keep some of your money. You imagine playing in Canada and then going to Florida and paying no taxes. You feel like you're the wealthiest man in the world. I'm going to buy this intercoastal highway, right? Because I don't have to pay the same taxes playing in Toronto that I don't pay here. So would you agree that Ray Allen is the one that gets the pardon on this last night of the administration? Well, I hope to be here tomorrow unless I get a tap on my phone. Like, hey, KJ, are you awake? Yes, I just woke up. What is it, sir? It's about the pardon stuff last night. What? I didn't say anybody's specific name. I was just using it as an example. That's not why you're here. No, I'm kidding. But I think part of it is forgiveness. You know who I was going to put on the list and thought about it, and I was like, they ended up not being relevant enough, but they ended up being enough of a jerk that they'll be remembered. Carl Everett. You're thinking about that. Carl Everett got a bunch of money to come here from the Astros, famously headbutt the umpire in the face.
Okay, that's what it was. I was waiting for something to roll off the tongue. That's how I know him.
These are the early days of when Pedro first got here. This would be like 2000, 2001.
Yeah,
somewhere near.
I was a young kid then.
Yes, well, that's how Carl Everett was acting. I almost put him on the list for someone who would be up for a pardon, but because his career, because the other part of it is the pardon thing is what happens when life goes on, right? Like, that's the whole idea. A pardon has you in some type of purgatory, but yet you're still trying to have your life go on or recapture anew. Like, Rick Pitino was really deserving of it. I mean, talk about federal and state stuff. Like, this guy's like across interstate lines. Like, okay, buddy, you're wanted on 93 for some stuff you did at the Garden, out on I-40 in Kentucky. Like, what are you doing? You know, so, well, 40 doesn't run through Kentucky. It runs through Tennessee, just a little north of there. So I think Rick Pitino is the one who doesn't deserve it the most, but needs it the most in terms of forgiveness here, because New England's not very forgiving. The nerve of you. You'll be reminded if you've done someone wrong 10 years later. Oh, you're still smiling because of that stuff from 10 years ago, huh? Well, let me tell you what I think about you. Welcome to New England. That's Rick Pitino. Rick Pitino, if he showed up to get a lunch here, just, well, I don't know where he'd eat lunch because it'd be outdoors, right? So pouring his water. I'm sorry that spilled over. Larry Bird is not walking through this door to clean this mess up, right? Robert Parrish is not coming. I mean, when you say those things, it's almost kind of like, really? Did you really just go to the red letters of the Bible and use that against? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? So he's the one that probably needs the pardon the most, but is going to have the most difficult time getting the pardon from the New England fans.
See, that's why he doesn't deserve it, though, is because he would be the one basically begging for it, whereas Ray Allen, I mean, I feel like he's at peace with it.
Yeah. And I think because Rondo is over that now as well, that's a helping piece too as well, because, you know, the heart and soul that Rondo put into the city and the team and just that fight and bite, like, despite Rondo going on to play for 48 different teams, you know, he's still loved here. He's still loved here. Johnny Damon, I think the jury is still out. What has helped is a non-winning Yankees team. And for every year the Yankees win, it's almost kind of like an angel gets their wings. Like, I still remember, what was it, 18, when the Yankees went up 2-0 here at Fenway, and Meathead won. For those who don't know, Giancarlo Stanton is Meathead 2, Aaron Judge is Meathead 1. So Meathead 1 and Meathead 2. We swing real hard, we hit the ball. They're Meatheads.
Home runs or strikeouts.
Yeah, we're Dave Kingman's kids. So you remember Aaron Judge is singing New York, New York in the just off of the seats, like singing it loud as they were leaving. Is like
bulletin board material.
Yeah, that's the stuff. That's the stuff when we show you the picture of the ground ball going up the middle at Mariano Rivera's feet. If you want to start those memories off right there, or I'll show you a little picture of Dave Roberts going into pinch run. See how that makes you feel in your chest. So for Johnny Damon, I think it is going to take a little longer to get on the forgiveness train when it comes to the pardons here, because of all teams, he went to the Yankees. Like, as much as it hurt to see Mookie Betts go to the Dodgers, imagine if he went to the Yankees. Oh, my gosh. Oh, it still hurts to even think that Mookie's not here. So a pardon is in order. I wish we had a jail cell. Play that in jail music one more time so we can give them their music on their way out. Ray Allen, enjoy your freedom, buddy. You are no longer in New England sports jail. It's okay, Dylan. If you don't find the fat boys, they're probably somewhere going off to eat again. It's late at night on WEEI with KJ. Hang out. Something that a former Celtic needs help with, and it's coming for him.